Counselor Vincent Howell.
Here.
Counselor David A. Ulibarri Jr.
Here.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have quorum.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Councilor Romero, will you give a moment of silence?
A moment of silence for our prayers and thoughts of the victims, that families on the South Texas church shooting.
Thank you. Okay. Approval of the agenda. What is the
Madam one, approval of agenda as is.
Okay, is there a motion? Is a second? Okay.
Second.
Roll call.
Counselor Casey.
Yes.
Counselor Romero.
Here.
Yes. Counselor
Yeah.
Howell.
Yes.
Counselor Ulibarri Jr.
Yes.
Have a motion by Counselor Ulibarri Jr., a second by Counselor Howell. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Okay. Mr. Trujillo?
Yeah, next we have the public input, and we have Cordia. We talk about water exemption.
Good evening, Ms. Allen. How are you?
I feel very lonely. Before I talk about what I want to do about the water, I wanted to take this opportunity to sincerely thank the city for the Boo Fest. I was there, we had a photo booth, and it was so wonderful seeing all the children and the family and how much fun they were having, and they felt safe, and they were with their kids, and it was just really, it made me feel good. I went home happy that night. And people came in and took pictures of their kids in their costumes, and they were in costumes, so it was just a really nice event. And I think the city made everybody feel very, very welcome. So thank you for all the hard work everybody did on it. The other thing is just that being that I manage one of the farmers markets and water is life, food security is very important to me. And one of the things I feel we really need to do is encourage local gardeners, small gardens, because it may come to the point where that's where we're depending on some of the food with the climate change and the things that are happening across the country. So I was happy to see that on the water conservation ordinance, there was a new one that said personal fruit or vegetable gardens of 200 feet or less, watered by drip irrigation, soaker hose, or by hand, could be exempt from water restrictions. Because when I was a farmer with the farmers market a couple of years ago, one of our farmers who was in this category had a horrendous fine, and they really can't afford what they're doing is they're right on the border, and they bring in so much good food to us. So I just want to ask that you consider to pass and have that as a part of the water conservation, because I think it could be a very community-minded thing to do. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Very much, Cordia.
And that does it for public input.
Okay.
Next, we have discussion items. Resolution 17-43, budget adjustment resolution. And Anne Marie, Finance Director, will present.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council, and Mr. Trujillo. In front of you, you have Resolution 17-43, a budget adjustment request. We are finalizing some of the grants that have come in after final budget had been approved. The first one was the Economic Development Fund. We are asking to move $52,000 from cash balance over to the professional services for a project that is being looked at the industrial park, and those are engineering services only. For the Veterans Memorial, we collect rent, and we are looking at requesting $5,310 for maintenance of the elevators for the veterans at the Veteran Center. The legislative appropriation for the senior vehicles We were given $439,000 last year for senior center vehicles, and this is the balance to finish up the vehicles. They are finalizing those purchases as well. The historic preservation, which is the 218 fund, we were able to acquire $24,750 for the fire department for the renovations. And so we acquired the $24,750 for the windows that are being put up or will be put up very, very soon. In the 676 fund, that's the capital fund program. We are requesting $264,490 for the housing division. And then we had looked at a possibility of $290,000, which we had requested, and $264,490 was what was actually granted, and so we're removing the difference. In the 216, the street improvement fund, we are looking at doing some roof repairing and other repairs in the public facilities, and we're requesting $100,000 from the cash balance as well. And then the gas construction, those are various projects that are being completed by the gas department, and that's $884,250 for a total dollar amount of $1,517,040. And with that, I'll entertain any questions, Madam Mayor, members of the council.
Questions, comments?
Madam Mayor?
Councilor Casey.
Thank you. On that last part on the gas construction, the $25,000 for building structure and land, what would that cover? There's nothing there to explain.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'll defer that over to the
Councilors, Madam Mayor, Manager, the gas division has some additional improvements they need to make to their buildings and structures on the utilities property to be able to store equipment, to keep it out of the weather, and to keep the equipment in good condition so we can maximize its life. So they're working on an additional storage covered area.
Okay, and then what is meant by propane backup?
Propane backup, how much was that one?
85,000.
Yeah,
85,000. That one is,
that was your.
okay, so we have the peak shaving plant is a facility that we have, a propane backup facility that we have that is not operational. It is cannot be brought back into service without spending approximately $4 million, and there has not been a need for it. So we're looking at closing that system down, decommissioning it, and being able to take all the equipment, hopefully dispose of the equipment, hopefully get paid back for the tanks and the propane. We've tried to have a propane company come in and remove the propane, and we've been coming up on issues with that. So it looks like we may actually have to pay a company to safely remove the propane and dismantle and decommission the system. So that's what the $85,000 is for, is to be able to decommission that system.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. That's all, Madam Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Howell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Trujillo, Mrs. Callegas. On the $52,000,
management improvements, there's vouchers for an audit, for structural improvements, for equipment, other site improvements, and then, of course, other equipment.
Right, I understand that, but are there more specifics in our annual plan on which site improvements and which?
I can certainly check with the
As long as we know that it's specific and
Okay.
what we.
And maybe that's
And then
something that the housing director can
Absolutely.
address next
Okay.
week.
Yes. And I will defer the question over to her.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you. What is the pleasure of the board?
Consent.
Okay.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, members. of
Thank you
council.
very much.
Thank you. Next is Resolution 17-40, assigning official representatives and signatory authority to CWS SRF 071 loan agreement with New Mexico Environment Department. Maria?
Thank you. Madam Mayor, councilors, Mr. Manager, I'm requesting authorization for a resolution which will allow us to designate certain city officials for signatory authority for this CWSRF Clean Water SRF loan. The resolution, the funding agency does require designation of who will be signatory authority. Oh, and I do need to give you an update. The resolution, the NMED asked us to make one change. And the change is being handed out now. Under the now therefore be resolved, the designation for the mayor was to sign the loan agreement. The addition is to sign a loan agreement and promissory note. And that change was specified this Monday, 2 days ago, by NMED. They wanted that change made.
Okay, so they're going to add the mayor.
It's Mayor Tonita, in this case, it's Mayor
Okay.
Tonita or her successor. But the language that they wanted to add in was the words and promissory note.
And that's, it's on the, okay.
So that's the only change with the resolution that came in your package and the resolution that we're requesting signature on, approval on. And again, this will allow us to move forward with the CWSRF loan agreement, which is also a agenda item coming up.
Okay, then I have a question.
Yes.
Because it involves me now. If this is the case, Maria, then are you going to add me to the actual signatory card?
It's not required because of your position.
Okay.
The signatory card is required specifically for the authorizing officers, which is the city manager and the finance director,
Okay.
and those that can sign for reimbursement.
Okay, gotcha.
The position of mayor is...
Not a problem, just making certain we have that clear. Okay. Questions, comments? Okay, what is the pleasure of the board?
Consent.
Number 3, installation of high-speed pumps at the water treatment filter plant.
Mayor, councilors, Mr. Manager, are requesting approval on a project to be able to install replace a high-speed pump and the electrical equipment, mechanical components at the water treatment plant. And I have with me the water treatment plant manager, Mr. Don Cole. I'd like for him to talk about the age and history of the current pumps that we have, the current condition, some hindrances to us maintaining the current pumps, and benefits of being able to replace these pumps, and anything else you'd like to add.
Mr. Cole.
Okay, thank you. Mayor, councilors, Mr. Manager. My name is Don Cole. I am the city's water treatment plant manager. I've been in the position about 6 months now, but I have previously worked with our water treatment system since 2010. I'm here to talk a little bit about the high service pump situation that we have, and let me give you a little background. The high service pumps are a pivot point in our water treatment system where we are at the final stage of creating drinking water and then putting it into the system. If we don't have the high service pumps running and we don't put water into the system, we don't build pressure in the system, and we don't fill our tanks. The high service pumps are currently located in the Clearwell building, which is the oldest building in the water treatment plant campus. That building was built in the late 70s by P&M before the city retained ownership of the water treatment system. Those are the original pumps that are in there. They're all right at 40 years old right now. They are made by a company that no longer makes this type of pump, and they are inefficient. So what we're proposing is to begin the replacement process for these 4 high-service pumps by first replacing all of the electrical equipment that supplies power to these pumps, and then replacing one of those pumps this year and replacing the rest of the pumps in subsequent years, so that we don't have all of the pumps ending their life cycle at the same time.
Okay, questions, comments? Councilor Lee.
On the pumps, the company that sells them, do they give you like a warranty how many years will they work, or is this company a name brand company that just in case one of the pumps goes out, the parts go out, can you order parts from them or fix up the pumps, or what do you do?
Counselor, the pumps are repairable. The pumps were made by Fairbanks Morris, which now Fairbanks Morris no longer makes those pumps. They've transitioned to the oil field industry. The pumps are repairable at a premium from other companies that have assumed the legacy of that particular brand and design of pump.
Counselor, are you talking about the replacement pumps? The warranty and the replacement pumps? Yes, Alpha Southwest is going to be the contractor who will be installing the equipment for us and be providing modern, up-to-date pumps, which will have a warranty, and we can get you that warranty information.
Yeah.
And they will be repairable.
Okay, yeah.
Much-
What's the
much-
life expensive, do they last a
We
year,
can
2
get us-
years, or? Yeah.
Well, life expectancy is kind of hard to nail down, but generally speaking, this type of pump should last 20 years or better.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Councilor Howell.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Mr. Trujillo, Ms. Guerreri, and Mr. Cole. Last time I saw you, you had a little bit more hair. Just beginning to be like me.
Yes, Councilor.
Welcome back.
Thank you.
Ms. Gilberry, when we had Mr. Cassidy here, one of the council meetings, we all talked about having to do or to be aware of all the priority things that we need to do. Is this one on the priority list?
Yes, Counselor, it is.
And do we have a list of the priority?
Yes, Counselor?
You haven't, has that been disseminated to us?
Mhm.
Okay, maybe I didn't see it, but.
Madam Mayor and members of the council, if you remember when Mr. Cassidy was here, we talked about the critical projects and
Right,
we listed,
but were there specifics on it, like addressing the pumps?
yes. And then we also talked in previous meetings about replacement of all the electrical infrastructure at the plant.
Okay,
And this is part of that.
okay, good, that's all I needed. Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much. What is the pleasure of the council?
And so,
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Don. All right, publication of ordinance number 17-11 to enter into a loan agreement with the New Mexico Environment Department.
Mayor, Councilors, Mr. Manager, my request is to be able to publish the ordinance that will authorize the city to be able to enter into, or the ordinance regarding authorizing the city to enter into the loan agreement for CWSRF 071, which I mentioned a little earlier. This is a grant loan for $450,000 that will allow the city's wastewater treatment plant to move forward with rehabilitation of 3 lift stations that have exceeded their lifespan. They have already had numerous issues, and when these lift stations fail, they stop pumping sewage water and it starts to fill up in the vaults. And these sewage stations are located, lift stations are located. One is in front of DOT, one is on DeBib, and the other one is near the San Miguel County Detention Center. They are in low areas, which is why we have the lift stations there to help pump it back to up to the wastewater plant. And with these funds, which we've received or which we've been offered at a 0% interest, we will be able to rehabilitate all three of them and greatly reduce the issues that we've had in that area.
Questions, comments?
Just one comment.
Counselor Howell.
I'm sure this is on the priority list. Good.
Okay, what is the pleasure of the board?
Consent.
Consent. Okay. Gilbert.
All right, publication of ordinance number 17-12, amending the water conservation ordinance. And this is to, for people who are interested in growing gardens throughout the town.
Mayor, councilors, Mr. Manager, I'd like to request to publish regarding the ordinance to amend the water conservation ordinance. The amendment that I'm requesting, is to add an exemption. The exemption will allow residents with a 200 square foot or less food garden, personal food garden, to be able to water their gardens, and they will not fall under the rules and restrictions of the water conservation plan. This, the reason why I'm looking at this is that the majority of the city of Las Vegas is what's considered a food desert. So it is more than a mile away from a grocery store, and there are other areas that put that in. There are other categories or other stipulations that put it in that category of food, put Las Vegas in the category of this food desert. But what it results in is unhealthy residents. By encouraging our residents to be able to grow their own food, it can help with health as well as the needed sustenance for some of our residents. The approximate usage of water for a 200 square foot garden is about 125 gallons per week during the growing season, so it's not year-round. The majority of our residents are not going to be able to put a 200 square foot garden on their properties. That's pretty large for inside Mills, San Miguel, or Mills, South Grand, and New Mexico Avenue. Inside that area, it's not likely a lot of our residents there would be able to do a 200 square foot. Some outside the area would be able to. The estimate is if 100 people, if 100 homes went ahead and started a 200 square foot garden, it would be the equivalent of 8 homes and their water consumption over the year, which is not a lot compared to the 14,000 residents, 13,000 residents, and several thousand accounts and homes that we have. So it's going to be a minor impact on the amount of water that we currently have in storage and we have available to our customers. The health impact, I think, is a much more important aspect of this request.
Questions, comments? Councilor Hahn.
Madam Mayor, Mr. Trujillo, Ms. Gilberry, the person that's going to do a community garden, a garden, you're saying that there's a certain amount of water that's going to be used for a 200 square foot, correct?
There is an average of 125, okay. So it can be more, it can be less. It depends on what kind of vegetation or what kind of vegetable.
They're not going to be penalized if there is a conservation?
No, that's used just for information purposes for the council, that it's about 125 gallons per week, but the residents still fall under the same rules and regulations that everybody else does, where it's a tiered rate structure. So if for some reason they did move up into a higher tier, then they do pay more per gallon.
Exactly.
Okay, that's where the penalty is.
That's where the penalty will come.
There's no a specific individual penalty.
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? What is the pleasure of the board? Consent.
Consent.
Mr. Trujillo, do we have any executive session?
Yes, we do, ma'am.
Okay.
Can I have them present?
Yeah, could you give an overview, please?
The subject of executive would be pending litigation as well as threatened litigation. Attorney-client privilege.
Okay, I need a motion. Do I have a motion?
Madam Mayor,
Councilor Howell.
I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session to discuss matters subject to the attorney-client privilege pertaining to threatened or pending litigation in which the city of Las Vegas is or may become a participant as permitted by section 10-15-1H7 of the New Mexico Open Meetings Act, NMSA 1978.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Counselor Uribe Jr.?
Yes.
Counselor Howell?
Yes.
Counselor Casey?
Yes.
Counselor
Yes.
Romero?
Yes.
I have a motion by Counselor Howell, a second by Counselor Casey. Thank you, Madam Mayor. Motion carries.
Okay. In your office?
Yes.
Okay.